these walls could talk. I'm Wendy Stuart, and I'm all by myself today. And there is a good reason for that, because Tym Moss is on his way to beaches and sunshine in Puerto Rico. And he would not take me in his suitcase, ladies and gentlemen. There was no room for me because that suitcase was just filled with Speedos. So the next time you see Tym Moss, he'll be blonde, he'll be tan, he'll be fabulous, and I'll be bitter. No, not really. I'm really, really happy for him. So, how is everybody today on this Wednesday? Very excited to be here. I love doing the show every Wednesday. I love seeing all of you out there. I have a really, speaking of blonde and tan, I have a fabulous, gorgeous guest from LA, but we'll get to that in a minute. We are broadcasting, as always, from PANGEA, and we're getting geared up here. We're going to have Kobe Cole's Valentine's Day party here and show on February 14th. Put that on your calendars. February 12th, you can find me in PANGEA in Ike Avelli's 50 Shades of Gay. This is my first time ever being in that show, but it's certainly appropriate. 50 Shades of Gay and me, why not? And really looking forward to that. Next week, January 27th, for all of you people in New York City, Jed Ryan will be doing a screening of his film that he produced with Lady Clover Honey, or Clover, as many of you know her. And that's going to be at Rock Bar, and it's locker room something. Like when I saw the poster for it, I just couldn't get past the locker room thing. All shirtless guys, tastefully done, of course. And I'm sure if Jed's involved, it's going to be fabulous. So you can find us at Rock Bar on January 27th. And the piece de resistance of my announcements is we are all going to be at the Glam Awards at Sony Studios this January 30th. It's a Sunday night. If you don't have your tickets yet, please get a VIP ticket. It's produced by Cherry Jubilee, hosted by Bob the Drag Queen, and just about everybody and anyone that you know in New York nightlife and actually LA nightlife are going to be there. And of course, this very podcast that you are watching right now, If These Walls Could Talk, is up for a Glam Award. Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss for the best podcast. So we are super, super excited about that. Okay. Our guest today, she is known as the Queen of Scream. She is a triple threat actress, WGA writer, producer, director, and I'm sure that there's a heck of a lot more that I can say about her. She has been billed in over a dozen horror and thriller films because you know what? She screams really well, and she's a fabulous actress. And my God, she can cry on cue. I always love when people can do that. We want to find out why someone who's so darn pretty wants to be so evil. So please welcome the one, the only Sadie Katz.
Hi there. Oh, I need you to be my hype woman all the time.
I'm so good at hype. You have no idea, but you know what? It really is all true. And I love having somebody like you on because your whole background in horror. First of all, I personally love horror films, big horror fan. And I love that. I want to emphasize that's been your niche, but you know what? You are so much more. And we're going to talk about all of that today. I love meeting women, right, that are so dynamic and have to wear many hats. And people need to understand it is not that easy. You get very pigeonholed, as you know, in this industry. And once that happens, you spend a heck of a lot of time trying to get out of it. And you obviously have. So there's a heck of a lot to talk about with you today. But I want to talk to you about the Sadie Katz Hustle Award.
Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing? Hilarious. I'm pretty young to have an award named after me, but God bless the American Documentary Film Festival in Pasadena, which if you're a film festival goer, it is the best. Like I took my son and because we had the premiere for my doc, The Bill Murray Experience there, and it did very well. And it's literally a week of showing tons of documentaries. I'm talking like 100 documentaries, and then everyone drinks wine and hangs out and talks about the docs, and then parties at night.
And, oh my God, this is my kind of festival. I make documentaries, so this is totally my kind of festival.
Please send yours to me, and we'll get you connected. Or, you know, it's on all the, it's one of the top, like, you know, when they say 99 film festivals were.
Yeah. On Film Freeway. I love that you had, first of all, that's hilarious. The Sadie Katz Hustle Award.
Well, they gave me it because when my film was in it, I just went completely insane promoting the film and went to Palm Springs every weekend, went on the news station. But one of the things was I chased around Bill Murray with 100 balloons. So there were just so many balloons around the festival that if you went and you were there, you would know that our film was there. And I just did everything in my power. And Teddy Guru, God, he's going to kill me. I always say his name.
It's okay. I butcher names all the time.
He's lovely. And he is the founder of the festival. And the next year he said, you know, we're going to do an award in your honor to filmmakers who kind of go above and beyond promoting their film. Because, you know, as you know, a lot of times when people have films, they get really excited. They submit them to film festivals. Right. And by the time the film, they're so exhausted. So they're like, okay.
No, you're right. They're flatlined by the time. And as you know from doing these festivals, there's tables with stacks of postcards, right?
And they're just sitting there.
Our postcards made with the laurels, how many laurels it's gotten on the back and everything. But, you know, like you and I are very similar. You're a Libra, right?
Yes. What's your birthday?
Capricorn. Okay. But I get along great with
money.
But I hustle. And it always felt to me like, why are we just doing these postcards? I love that you were like running through this festival with balloons. Like, what was the balloon connection?
You know, it's kind of funny. When my doc was just like a lighthearted take on wanting to have a Bill Murray experience. So I kept thinking, well, if you know, I have a chance to meet with Bill Murray, because people had all these funny experiences of meeting Bill. So I thought, well, how is he going to what am I going to do? So I thought, well, if I have these balloons, then, you know, and I'll share with you, because it was a lighthearted thing. I also was thinking,
oh, we love lighthearted on this show.
Yeah, I was also thinking like marketing and how to tie it together. And, you know, there's a little bit of fun thought in that. But I really just wanted to have something that he might be able to play with, or, you know, even if it was just as simple as running around and giving out balloons, or
we call that a hook. You needed to find a hook.
You need a hook. So, I mean, looking back, I was in a totally different place, and it was my first time I did a doc, and I had things to learn. But one thing that I know I did correctly on some level was that it's true. You go to these film festivals and you're like, they just wasted. Those are not cheap, the postcards, and they're just sitting there. And, you know, we ended up on the night that we had the premiere, I said, well, instead of having like your regular party, why don't I host the party? And I went to a hotel, and the V Hotel Palm Springs, and we had like an official after party that included everyone from the film festival. And then I bought these giant letter balloons that spelled out the Bill Murray experience. So they were like, if you went to the film festival, they were like all over the film festival. And then we had the same around the pool. And I had bands that played in the, gosh, I'm exhausted. I'm thinking how much work that was.
Just thinking about all the things you did, but you know, it's so impressive. Okay. Because you not only went out of the box, you went the whole 9 yards. I'm curious now how other filmmakers, you know, these festivals can be very competitive, as you know. How did the other filmmakers react to you doing this, even though you included everybody?
You know what? This film festival in particular, everyone stays there, and they're from around the world. So
yeah,
I put this in a nice way. They're not from Los Angeles.
Okay. That says it all, right?
They're a little bit more like everything's really exciting. So anything that adds to it. We also all went to each other's films. And a lot of times filmmakers will show up and they'll attend their film, never talk to another filmmaker. I mean, I'm guilty of even doing that at certain festivals, but this one, everyone's in Palm Springs. So, you know, we attended each other's films, which is really important.
It is.
And we all drank a lot together. We watched a ton of documentaries and probably drank. Yeah, we drank so much wine. And so, you know, everyone really enjoyed it. And everyone kind of became really good friends. I still talk to people. I'm really close to Teddy. I love him. And at the Camelot Theater was where most of the screenings take place.
In Palm Springs.
Yeah, and there's a bar upstairs. So God bless Eric and Matt. They ran it, and boy, did we have a blast. I mean, I do think that if you're going to do a film festival, you should find some, I'm sure you know this. I feel like I'm woman-splaining, but I'm saying like people need to find that one hook, even if it's just, you know, a giveaway or something, but you really should have like someone there, the filmmaker who loves their film. Filmmakers don't want to, they get so weird. Like they don't want to, you know, they don't want to promote like being on a podcast, being on a film. Like if you don't do it, like no one else will. Or
oh my God, you are so smart to say that, because that's exactly right. And it's not being boastful. You know, a lot of times people will look at you and say, you know, why is she so pushy or whatever? I feel exactly the same way you do. It's really about sharing. And if you've got something great to share, why not share it with everyone? My thing, so I'm asking you all about this film festival. I often host the panels on the film festivals. Even if I don't have a film in it, I totally love the filmmakers. Okay. I love hearing that they did a film on $12,000. That's like, how does anyone do that? So it's the process. And you know this better than anyone because you do this. It's the raising of the money, all the clever ways people think about doing that. You know, I have one filmmaker I interviewed, he from The Garden Left Behind. He raised the money for his film selling stuff on eBay. Who does that? I mean, like, look at your face.
That.
Right.
I've done panels too at a couple film festivals talking about distribution.
Yeah.
Because I really learned about distribution.
Sure.
But I always say that I want to do, I'm sure you'll relate to this. I always think the doc I want to do, like Girl Makes a Film, that's basically about how insane raising money for a film is. It's insane. And if you go to a lot of these documentary film festivals, you'll notice something. And this is, you know, sexism and it's working.
It's okay.
They're all very beautiful. And I start to realize like, or they're very attractive women. And I'm like, you think documentarians might not be that because they're more, you know, I'm not talking about my doc, but other ones.
Right. But stereotypically, like documentaries, like when you talk about Margaret Mead or all, you know, that's how we tend to think. But you and I know the women that are moving and shaking now are the ones that have something to say. And they're seeing it through their films.
Right. And I do think I started to ask them, like, how'd you get the financing? And I noticed they all either got it through men. Like, honestly, they always say there's all these things for women, but there's so many barriers to get there for getting like grants. So a lot of them would get, you know, some guy who had a crush on them or their father, their boyfriend. And that was kind of like, wow, that means that they had some other, you know, thing in their ear telling them what to do in a different way.
Well, right.
So, I mean, that's why it's really interesting when someone says, well, I got the money for my doc through eBay, or I got it through selling my handbags. That would be cool.
Right.
So it's so hard though. It is.
It's so hard. I will tell you, I'm a member of New York Women in Film and Television. And, you know, we cover people in LA everywhere. We have lots of grants available. It is highly, highly, highly competitive. So to your point, okay, the other side of that coin is some dude buzzing in your ear that is like, hey, I think you're, I love what you're doing. I want to give you the money for it. At the end of the day, okay, as filmmakers, we just want to get the thing made. My husband and I have financed our films, if I can tell you, on shoestring, absolute frequent flyer miles to get to Africa. I mean, hiring local people that have no camera experience, but that are smart. You got to be able to take risks, and you have to be able to do the ask. The ask for me is really the hardest thing. I don't think it's hard for you. I can tell by talking to you, and maybe your first time it was, but that's still hard for me.
It's funny talking about money. Like, I can try to do it casually, but you do start to go like, wow, someone's going to write me a check right now for $50,000. And you have to like, yeah, it's almost like if you make, I used to say this when I was dating, if you make too big of a deal, you're at a fancy restaurant and you go, oh my God, thank you. I love this. Oh, this is so generous. I can't believe it. It looks like you don't belong there. Like you've never had a great meal. So there's that fine line of like being grateful and, being grateful and also knowing that you deserve to be there. Like, the person going,
you deserve,
wait a minute. Yeah.
You deserve to be there. But I talk about this with women all the time. That's sometimes hard. I don't know why, and I'm not generalizing, but it is often hard as a female to say, I am totally deserving of this. I'm totally deserving to play this game.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like this is, they say that in America that white women are the most insecure. So you think blonde hair, we run around, but I know like I didn't grow up where you could say like, oh, I'm having a good hair day today, or I did the best job, or I'm so smart, or I got an A, or like that was kind of, you didn't make like sassy statements like I'm fabulous, or
I wasn't raised that way. I came from a home where my mother said, don't toot your own horn, wait for someone else to do it. Yeah. The lesson to be learned is, guess what? It took me a while to realize nobody else was going to do it. Yeah. Especially in the times that we're in now. That's why your promotion of the Bill Murray experience is so genius to me, because you pulled out all stops. You did balloons, you gave parties. I really think, Sadie, that's what it totally takes. Now, I need to know, what was Bill Murray's reaction to this?
Well, you have to watch the film, but spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
The film really ended up being, obviously, it wasn't planned this way, but, documentaries kind of tell the story that, you go to set out for one story and then you tell something else, which is cool. So Bill's in it, and I met Joel Murray, and he became a friend of mine, and PJ Souls. And, as I do it, I kind of obviously learn life lessons. I lose my friends that I started with. I learned to, take it more seriously. And then Bill is in the doc, but you'd have to see it, the Bill Murray experience.
Have to see it.
I will say that social media and people I worked with in film really did, like, because I worked on it so long and my heart was so in it. I really, like, the friends of mine and my social media friends really ended up coming through, and they came to a big screening at UCLA. We had a screening, and there was, I think, 350 seats. And it was free, but I had this like after party there where I got an alcohol sponsor, and we had like chips and guacamole. I mean, I was so poor.
I know, but you know what you got? Okay, let's not gloss over. You went and got an alcohol sponsor. That's like, to me, that's 3/4 of it. If you get them drunk, they know they're having chips and guacamole. They're fine.
I'm like, don't have your audience ever go into anything sober. Like, girl, get them drunk afterwards, because it's supposed to be a party, unless you're like, even if it's a big drama, I think you want people to like afterwards. I don't care about red carpets and stuff. I mean, that's fine, but like a step and repeat sometimes can get you know, then it becomes, yeah, it gets repetitive and you're like, okay, you guys put 1,000 pictures of this. I think honestly, getting people to put their cameras down and get excited about the movie and talking to each other, then they end up the next day going, damn it, we should have taken more pictures. But then they end up talking about like, oh, I love that movie. Right. The one thing I did wrong, and I think about it anytime I think of promoting something, is I should have pushed people to write reviews. Should have said, please write a review. That's more than all the promoting I did. The biggest thing that I didn't realize is if you're on, you know, iTunes, let's say, and you only have 6 people who go on and write a review. And they're normally like haters off the internet who like don't even watch the whole thing. So then they write, let's say, a negative review, or I watched the film for 1 minute and her voice was terrible, or whatever.
Couldn't stand it. Right.
Well, that's all your reviews. So when someone looks it up, they just see like, oh, this has 35%. And that's maybe based off of 2 reviews. So people are it's very hard to get somebody to write a review on Amazon or things. But if you have, I think it's very low. If you have like 30 reviews, just, it doesn't matter if they're 100% or whatever on iTunes, that pushes your movie up a lot. And you'd be shocked how many people don't do that. And I swear when my next
I had no idea till talking to you, but I have to wonder, doesn't it take more than that to, you know, push your brand ahead? I mean, if it were just dependent on iTunes, why would any of us bother getting out of bed and doing this?
Well, Amazon, I think, is really important. But those reviews, what happens is if you get like, you know, pre-sales for iTunes or Amazon, or especially iTunes, it pushes your movie up. And what I realized from you know, doing distribution and everything is you want your movie on the scroll. I thought when you, sorry, I get really boring with this because I'm really passionate.
No, it's not. It's really interesting because I interview people about this. And once again, this wasn't my plan. And here I am because you know what? People want to hear this. How the hell does a film get out there? You got to distribute it. And you're giving us the answer.
Yeah, I'm going to say, so, you know, I waited. I did above and beyond. I did everything humanly possible that I could with the amount of money I had. And then my distribution company, not my favorite people, when they never kept me, like I had to do everything and kind of stay on their radar. But I remember I dropped off my movie at their office, and you know, you're carrying your hard drive like it's your baby. You're afraid driving with it. You're like, and then I dropped it. I went there and hand delivered it to them. And I remember the girl at the front desk who had kind of been my friend up to this point. You know, I called her a lot. She takes I called her when I needed to. She takes my hard drive and she puts it to the side and she says and goes, "Thank you." And
that was it.
I went, whoa, okay. And then I spent all this time still promoting, hired a very hot shot publicist that was super expensive. And then the morning that it comes out, I go running to the TV and I can't find it. I'm like, documentaries. And then I realized that they say when they're selling you, like, oh yeah, we're going to put you up there. And then you're going to go on TV and you're going to say newest release documentaries. Well, those documentaries that show up on your scroll with the picture, they have pre-sales. They have, you know, there's a certain hype because you have Lionsgate that's already taking those.
Right, and that's such a huge name.
So if you don't have that kind of thing, like if you're not already, you know, it could be low, like 100 DVD sales. You want to push yourself higher up there because the more you're able to be on that scroll, the more people will see your film. If not, I realized that like one of the things that my distributor misled me, and I talked to them a lot about, was that, you know, the Bill Murray Experience, I said, should we keep the, yeah, no problem. It will, you know, it will lead you later. Well, people had to put in the Bill Murray experience.
Right. If they left out then it wouldn't.
You'd have to go all the way down.
Right. I
So
got
you're
it.
like, wow, I have this film, and I really have to get people to find it. And people can say like, how many Instagram followers do you have? How many?
Yeah.
Do you ever like go on Instagram and go, well, I don't know that person, but I heard about their movie and I'm going to look it up. It doesn't translate. Neither like TikTok people aren't looking for those people to be in a movie I'm still figuring it out. I have some ideas.
Well, I'm going to tell you I did it's an unjuried fabulous festival, the Black Bear Film Festival. And I had the opportunity to really interview some very key people that were connected in LA for distribution. And what I found out would not make you happy. And too many of the filmmakers gave me your exact story, which I know to be totally true. You think you've got a distributor and everything's going to be done. Nothing's done. You're doing all the work. And what you told me about where you are in the list absolutely is a big criteria. But you know what? You're so great at packaging yourself and what you do. I don't have to tell you this. You need to find another way to come at it, which is what people like you and I do. I continually push my brand, and it's not based on those followers, honest to God, on Instagram. It's great. But when I go up and audition for something and they ask me how many followers I have on Instagram, I swear to you, Sadie, if I had a pie, I would take and throw it in their faces, because you want to say it's got zero to do with what I'm about or what.
Doesn't it make you so like, I remember I went to audition for this horror film and I walk in and it's a older man who I think hadn't done that many films. And I walk in and I am like ready to go. I'm ready to burst into tears and run through the forest.
I know you do the whole 9 yards, scream.
I'm ready to, I'm prepped. And he says to me, he goes, okay, before we start, what's your social media following? What's your this? What's your that? And I looked at him, I said, well, didn't you Google, didn't you look me up or Google me? And I didn't mean it in that way. I just said I'm a bit of a scream queen. I have a name in that. And he goes, how many Instagram followers do you have? And I went, okay. So normally I'm cool. And I go, so if I have 5 million, do you think that would make people see your movie? I go, why don't you see me act first and then let's talk about it? And
good for you. Wow.
Really clashing, which I normally don't do. Yeah, and then I finally said to him, I go, how many Instagram followers do you have? How many this? I said, have you ever directed before? Because I knew he hadn't done a horror. He'd done something else. And I just said, you know what? Your priorities, and you obviously don't know how to market yourself already. So I'm going to pass on the audition.
Oh, God, Sadie, I love you. Good.
He ended up calling me later and said, I'm sorry, let me come in. Or why don't you come back in? And I said, no. I go, just to let you know, I have enough of a following, but my following, I'm sure you can relate to this, on Instagram, God bless them, is 85% men. So that's great, but they're just and they're super supportive. But I know what are my biggest posts. I know I could get bigger if I spent every day, doing bikini pictures, whatever, which are fun, but not how I want to live my life.
I completely agree with you. Let me tell you, you forming your own production company, when I was reading about you, and by the way, Tym Moss just checked in from the airport. He said, hi, everybody. Hi, Tim. Have a really safe flight. But the thing is, you went and formed your own production company. And to me, I read that and I'm like, yes, she knows exactly. That's what you have to do. All right. You have to have the control.
Yeah. And I have to credit, Jimmy Star.
Jimmy Star. Yes. We love Jimmy Star.
They were so, we kept talking about, I know. And we kept talking about I kept complaining, saying, I'm doing these lower budget movies, and not all of them, but some of them, I'm like, why can't they, if you're doing a movie for $150,000, you should take more risk than a movie that's, $500,000
Right.
in indie world. And instead I was like, why do people keep doing these $150,000 movies, and the scripts are terrible, and they're a tremendous amount of work, and no one really puts their heart into it. There's no reason why they can't be really great. And Jimmy and I had talked about that a lot. And I said, these single location movies, if you watch a lot of horror films, even on Netflix, people want to see even $5 million movies at one location. I mean, The Shining's a single location movie, really.
Right.
But I'm like, why aren't we at least trying to tell stories and be visually as creative as we can be, rather than the scripts I get sometimes? I'm like, why would you? So you're making a B movie, but it's not funny. It's not scary. It's
not anything. And then you're trapped in one location.
Right. So I'm like, it starts with the script. And so Jimmy and Eileen were really great, because we, as you're trying to raise money for a film, and then people are with you all the way. They take up your whole life.
Right. And all your time.
They bail out. I mean, they're like a girlfriend or boyfriend you never wanted to have, because you're on call with them and they want to shoot the shit or whatever. And then they disappear, and you're like, I don't get it. I don't understand. But Jimmy and Eileen were really awesome about encouraging me. They said, go ahead and open up the company. We're gonna get the financing on this film. And it was, I have to tell you, I'm not to be too disgusting, but Jimmy and I were so stressed out that we were both calling each other from the bathroom, sick as a dog. I love Jimmy, and going like, what are we going to do? We have people showing up at a location in 5 days, and we had to come up with the rest of the money because one of our financiers dropped.
That is very, very stressful. And again, Jimmy doesn't discuss any of this, but the way you find out what Jimmy's going through, he'll put something on Facebook. And I commented on a few of his things, and I'm like, wow, you've become really snarky and honest lately. So you had to figure, I knew he was going through something.
Oh God. I mean,
so stressful, because you don't know if you're going to get the money, and you're scheduled to shoot in 5 days.
I was crying and I couldn't sleep. And the biggest thing for me was, I was like, fuck, sorry, my language.
Everybody curses.
I was like, I have all these people who put their trust in me. I told them I had
that's a lot.
Right. And I just thought of all the phone calls I was going to have to make, and people I was still going to have to pay. And it was like traumatizing. And I had formed a friendship with the other financiers who were telling me, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I kept calling them going, I'm booking the space right now.
Right.
Are you sure? I've got the agent on the phone for this actor tomorrow. Are you sure? So and I had gone through this like 8 months ago, and I had thought I had learned that lesson then, and then it happened over again in different circumstances. And thank God for Jimmy. You know what? Just having someone to suffer with you. Him and Eileen were
they're great.
Calling everybody they were calling everyone in their damn address book.
I love it.
We're like, we have this great script. The script is so wonderful for The Beast Inside. But yeah,
I love that this movie, people will be able to see your release is going to be like in the fall.
Yeah, it's
great.
It's an exorcism movie, and and it's very scary. Actually, we've got a rough cut of the first act, and I'm watching it going, oh, that's scary. But what's funny is we shot it in December, so the backdrop, even though it's not about Christmas is everywhere. Like Christmas.
I love
if you think of Die Hard as a Christmas movie, then
Oh
you
my
can
God. How
The Beast
funny you could
Inside
read.
is a Christmas movie, but that's debatable. But yes, it's basically it's about a woman who has to perform a self exorcism before the demon uses her up, and her son ends up inheriting this demon.
Oh, right, because the demons are always passed on, right? I'm a horror buff.
You're such assholes.
The demon is just, oh wait, you got to keep the demon going no matter what.
Yes. And Vernon Wells plays our priest. So he was my priest as a child in the movie. And I go to him to ask for his help, but he has been deflocked because
of course he has been. Why am I not surprised?
Because of little boys, or little kids. And so there's some like vague thing of what happened. And then Lorraine Landon plays my mother, and she is so scary in this. I've watched her, I have all the cuts and, all the dailies from the film. And she's absolutely, do you know Lorraine?
I know the name. I've never seen, but
she went all out. I'll tell you, we're doing the scene. She comes back. Obviously she's possessed. She's
obviously possessed.
She's not alive anymore. She's the demon is appearing in her, and we're in the middle of shooting, and she's being very scary, and she had already asked me, like, can I do whatever? Like I said, throw it at me, sister. And there's this part where the demon's supposed to spit at you, and right on my face, and she's a beautiful woman, she's like, you're stunning, you like these blondes, you guys give me hope as I age. I'm like, you guys can look good without looking,
right. Sadie, you put demon makeup on anyone, we all transform. I have to imagine Lorraine you probably had a really great, what do they call the people that do that theatrical makeup? There's a special,
it's like makeup FX.
Yeah, it's the FX makeup, right? So she had to look like she was decaying and everything at that point because she had the demon in her.
Yes, and
the demon will do that to you.
She liked, I know, right? That and your exes, your exes and your kids.
Yeah, right. Right, exes and kids and demons.
They're all the same. No, but she was a sport about it. Like she was excited to not have. I'm sort of the same way. I like getting really dirty and kind of like letting go of vanity in front of the camera because it's fun to go in and try to play the sexy girl, but at a certain point you get older and it also gets kind of boring.
You've been playing the sexy girl. I mean, total count of horror films. Tell me the count, including episodes. Like you were in Wrong Turn 6. So episodes, everything. What's your total count of horror that you've done, that you've screamed, that you've been possessed?
I always just think of leads. Like I would say I've been the lead in like over a dozen horror films.
I mean that, what
regular films. I've done like dramas. I've done I guess I would say like comedy, dark comedy.
Dark comedy. I love that you've immersed to this degree in horror. It really is quite funny. And I wonder, like, what was your special gift, Sadie Katz, that made you the queen of Scream?
I'm a big chicken. I'm a big chicken, and I think I used to, when I never like said I should do horror films, but I used to go to auditions and I would be so nervous because I wanted to be good and I wanted to show them what I could do.
Of course.
And so I would go in and I would be so absolutely terrified of not nailing it. It was so important to me. And I realized that if I could, when I started, when you're young in LA, the first things you audition for are horror films. So I realized if I could go in and say hi and trick them that I was not nervous, by the time they said, okay, we're ready for you, I could like let all that bleed out because I'm naturally a person with like
yeah. You're very up person, right?
So the second I kind of had permission to do that, I would use that. And then they would go, how in the hell did you just fall apart like that? And I'm thinking, I fell apart outside. Like, so that was like my first cheat. And then I started to
Hold on, that is not a cheat. Okay, what do we learn like when we take acting class? We learn we have to get access to those emotions and then make it happen on stage, artificial, right? What you're really happening inside, and then you got to make it happen on stage. And what you're describing, that whole process is exactly that. Brilliant use of it, you know, great technique, Sadie Katz. That's all I can tell you. Good for you.
Thank you. Well, and I started to play a lot of bad, you know, the antagonist and instead of the protagonist. And I realized, because I was doing nudity, I realized that there is nothing more empowering than being the bad guy. You know, because you sorry, my cat just jumped on.
Oh, you have a cat and a dog. I love
two cats and a dog. You can imagine our house. So, you know, there's nothing more empowering than, you know, that you've got to scare everybody. You know that if it's like me and 6 kids, or, you know, the teens in the woods, I have to come on and like own that space. And that's exactly like with Wrong Turn. Is we shot it in Bulgaria, so we had, you know, 100 crew members, and it was a huge, like,
which I just learned, believe it or not, you and I have something in common, the Hollywood, Florida Film Festival.
Oh, yes.
Well, the film was just chosen as one of their shorts, and I just did a Q&A with the people that run it, and they were telling me about the studio in Bulgaria, and then when I was reading about you, I'm like, oh my God, she shot Wrong Turn 6 there, and I want to talk about that, but first I want to thank everybody who tuned in today. You're watching If These Walls Could Talk. We're shooting it live from PANGEA. And my host, Tym Moss, is on his way to Puerto Rico today. Have a great flight, Tim. I want to thank, we have a bunch of people that tuned in. We love Teresa Sabin, great support. I don't know if you probably know Teresa. Sue Stutzman is on, Dawn Hinton, Ika Belli. Too bad Wendy doesn't know how to scroll this chat thing so well. Tim really knows how to do this. Girl, I am not technical one iota. I'm proud to admit that. You know, I host, I interview, I make films, but I leave the technical stuff to other people, like our brilliant producer, Chauncey Dandridge. Thank you for today. Teresa Sabin, love you back, ladies. And Marty Abusher, who's been an unbelievable source of support for me and many other actresses. You and Marty would love each other. Thank you, Marty, for tuning in today. If I missed anybody, I will catch you in the comments that I return when the show's over. Yes, I answer every person. Now, what I want to do, Chauncey, I want to play one of Sadie's clips, the one that I gave you. Sadie, it's not the video that you were in. I wanted something that showed. Yeah, I love what you do. You're so intense on screen. So that's the clip I want to show.
They will never separate us, and we will be free again.
What are you doing, Megan?
Those pigs never hurt anyone until they hurt Jesse. How many times do I have to tell you that you are not sick?
But the doctor...
No. The doctors filled your head with bullshit.
What do you mean by brought to a conclusion?
By entering here, you've chosen to throw yourself off a cliff. May I help you?
Can you fill this for me?
Sure.
Perhaps I could stay here until the rain passes.
Then why didn't you bring more water? I want to stop it.
Megan has to be stopped. Why do you and your sister have different accents?
Hi, my name is Jessie.
Save your breath. Nobody can hear you scream.
my gosh. I have to tell you, I really do love it. You know, do what you do in a trailer. You gave it all. And you have a fabulous voice. And I do want to mention that you are the perfect, like, sinister. It's got a quality. It's an intense voice that makes people want to listen. But that was from Megan. Tell me about the role you played in Megan.
You know, it's funny. I watched that, and we filmed it in Italy, and with Randy Wayne, who is dreamy and fabulous and a great actor, and my buddy Greg Travis, and the other actress Lily. I always say her name wrong. My character is obviously in the woods with her sister, and a hiker comes by, and she is angry. I would say it's like a sexual revenge psychological thriller. So he wakes up, of course, and he's chained to a bed, and we shot this in a place that was like 300 years old. Limestone walls. And, in Italy, everything is very old. This was like insane. I think it was in, like 1799. It was insane. So it was like a very magical experience. We're at this great place, and I loved my crew beyond. Most of them spoke mostly Italian, and we got along really well. We ate great food and everything. So at night we'd have this really amazing, fun experience. And then in the morning I would get up and play Megan, who Megan is I would say has a little bit of a feeling of hard candy meets misery.
Oh my God. Great.
So there's something kind of, I can have a hot temper. I can also, I'm very emotional about everything. So, I could watch a Hallmark commercial and cry for an hour sometimes. I'm emotional.
So you emote easily, which you absolutely have to be. But it's not fake for 1 minute. You obviously can get to that place that's very deep inside some people. You are able to access that place. That's great.
Yeah, it's weird. You know what? It's really weird. It's weird, I think, for some people to get, and I can be a little bit of seem kind of flighty. I'm sure, we're these fun, bubbly blondes, but the truth is, once I actually sit down and focus, I do feel like I did so much acting training. I've been doing it so long. And you know how you get to that point where, you could talk to someone and everything slows down.
Yeah.
You start to really connect in a crazy way. And then, then I feel like my acting teacher used to say, you want to make yourself as calm as a lake. And then every time someone does a pebble, it ripples that lake more and more. And I feel like that's my biggest thing, is just because I ride so high. So when I force myself to come down, which I think is why everyone used to cry on with Barbara Walters, is she that was her intention, not to have fun with them, to bring it out. And I think
it's interesting that you totally got her technique of being able to bring people out in that way. You're absolutely right. But you know what? I don't believe for 1 minute you can be taught that. I think that that's got to be in a person. I'm curious, when you were a kid, were there inklings of this? Were you the kid that cried? I was the kid that cried all the time. I made my mother crazy because my mom was very waspy, and my sister is to a degree too. And they, they're not people that showed emotions, whereas I'm a ball of emotions. My daughter is a ball of emotions and mood swings. I'm not a mood swinger, but I'm all my emotions are right here.
Well, did they always say oh, Wendy, you're such an actress?
Right. But it's not. It's who I am.
Right? My mom used to say, I grew up, I had a crazy childhood, but it's so funny because she'd get really mad at me because I would right when I got nervous, I would start to shake a lot, and any emotion. And my mom would always say, quit your effing shaking, or I'll give you something to really cry about.
Yeah. And
that's I was really wow. I don't think understood the level of sensitivity, but I was also like, you know, it's a lot. Like if I was at Disneyland, I remember maybe I was 4 years old, 5 years old, and Tinkerbell flew across the sky, and I knew it was an actress or, you know, a stunt performer. And I just was like crying uncontrollably.
Oh my
And
God,
like,
overwhelmed with I could totally connect to that. Like that moment when Tinkerbell was right,
yes,
so magical and it hit you to the core.
always. And I would be like that. And my mom, wait, what's the matter? What's the matter? And I said, she's risking her life for
Right.
all of us kids. And like, I'm like that now, that could be a lot if you don't relate to that. But even my poor fiance, Miles, like he's gotten used to it and kind of is tickled by it. But if I go to like see a play and they give a standing ovation,
you cry?
I start crying because I'm like, isn't this beautiful? And I'll like an hour later, I'll be at dinner and I'll start to tell someone, and then it gets like right here. And I go, oh my God, okay, I can't.
I know, but you know what you see is who you are. And you know what? Good for you. Growing up and having that play down in your house, you obviously never grew the wall around you to buck up and, you know, stop feeling, what did I hear? Feeling sorry for yourself, or, you know, the whole world can't be wrong and you're right. And all the platitudes they hit little emotional kids with. So
Yeah, don't you feel like you don't want, I mean, we've kind of raised now, like right now, I think we're raising like a whole generation of sensitive babies in a different way. Like
yeah.
we're you know, we have like teenagers or little kids or, you know, 20-year-olds who keep saying, well, I want you to change for me. And I don't think like you or I were saying we want people to speak to us a certain way. We just, that's what's more important, is to figure out like a kid's emotional thing and you know, deal with them. My mom's very harsh. I bet your mom was pretty rough. So
my mom loved me, but she was New England, you know, she had been raised by a single mother. And you know, words like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all of that, where I didn't raise my daughter that way at all, but we're all like extremely emotional. My husband too is an artist. So we're the opposite end of the spectrum. You know, sometimes it's just the way we are. We can't help it. But, you know, you're talking about kids nowadays. Like I've got a daughter. You've got, how many kids do you have?
I have one, my son who's 20, Griffin.
Hi, Griffin.
Hi. Does
he have this so he's a, you know, totally different generation. My daughter's a millennial. Your son is, I forgot what they call the group that came after.
Z is a Gen Z. He thinks he's from 1975. If you saw him,
I love that.
Like he's not addicted to his cell phone. He's more likely to put on like a vinyl album than,
I love it.
You know, than anything. He's not into video games really. He's an artist, but he is much more. Well, one, he's a Gemini, so he has, you know, he has some other stuff going on, but he's very solid. Like I always have this story that's, to me, like tells exactly who he is when he was younger, every time he'd get out of the car door, you know, the kids always put their hands up on the car door. Oh. And you're like, put your hand down. Right. In the car door, put your hand down, get off the car door. And he was in kindergarten. And I mean, I was constantly telling him this. And the door shut and I saw it. And I saw the tip of his fingers, and I must have lost all color in my face, something. And Griffin looked at me. So the door shuts. I don't know what's in it. And he goes, I'm okay, Mom. Or it's okay, Mom. And then all of a sudden he just starts crying. But before he even had
to check in with his mother.
He was worried about what I looked like.
Right.
And then thank God it like grazed his finger. Wasn't even red.
Thank God.
But I think, you know, the one thing is Griffin's always been sort of my, you know, crazy rock. He went through, you know, a couple of crazy.
I can tell though, that kid has been a rock for you. which is really amazing. I was going to ask you, like, how has he dealt with, your career as an actress, horror films? You're not a I'm not a typical mom, and sometimes my daughter loves it, and other times, like, I know she doesn't love it so much. What was it like for him, the relationship with you?
I will say, like, it's funny because Miles is Jewish and his family is in the business, and he's always like, family first. Well, because I was a single mom,
Right.
I always told my son, like, it's work first. I mean, even though he was my number one priority, he kind of understood that work was so hard to come by. So he was my teammate to say, I just booked this.
Teammate. Wow.
I said, I just booked this. The script is about this. So, like, before, Wrong Turn, I knew would get a lot of exposure because it's a popular series. And I'm like, okay, so mom's playing an incestuous cannibal who wants to eat with her brother and eat the friends. And there's a lot of nudity. And so I sat him down and I said, there's probably going to be more naked pictures of me online and more things.
You deal with that when they're a teenager. Not, maybe when they're younger, it's one thing, but when they're teenagers. So I'm curious.
So I did this comedy called Nipples and Palm Trees.
Yeah,
that was really fun, and kind of, it was indie and shot really cool. But like, I always let Griffin come to all my premieres and let him, like, if there was a way, if it wasn't too racy of a movie, he would announce it, or I made him part of it for sure.
Smart,
whatever level, like a film festival or things. Right. So, if I could bring him, I would. But he came to the premiere and I had him sit next to the director, and he brought a hat. And anytime there was, like, oh my God, my boobs, he covered his face with the hat. But I just thought, what? When you're doing indie films, I thought it was important for him to see, because he saw all the highs and lows, and he was also making some sacrifices for me to do these things, that he got to see, on the big screen with 500 people laughing along, the rewards of that. And then people would say, like, your mom's cool, but you're really cool for being here.
I love that. You really normalized everything for him. And, here you've raised this kid, right, who's just a child of the 70s.
Yeah.
All of that. How cool is that,
It's pretty cool. It's so funny. I have this music video, the one I sent you. I was so proud of that got released. So I was really excited. I've been waiting. And then my son and his girlfriend were on the cover with a huge spread in, Push magazine. I just forgot. I have it all over my Instagram.
Oh, wait a minute. I saw that. Your son is incredibly handsome, and his
oh my God,
model, beautiful girl.
I mean, just stunning. Push magazine, just the most stunning thing. And I called him up and I said, well, here you go, buddy. Kids, you always want your kids to do better than you.
Absolutely.
And he's just, he's not into acting. He never wanted to take pictures. And, he got into, I was getting my headshots done, and my girlfriend said, when Griffin was 16, can I take a couple pictures of Griffin? And my girlfriend's very sexy. And Griffin got in front of that camera, and I swear to God, I went, how did that even, like, I'd never seen him take one picture. And all of a sudden he was doing these poses. And I ended up turning in, the pictures were so handsome of him. And I ended up sending in the pictures to Ford.
That's a great story. Love it.
Picked him up
immediately.
Like, they called him in, and I had no connection other than I sent it cold off the web.
But it was how old was he?
He took the pictures at 16. And
at 16, he started.
He's half Mexican, so he has kind of an exotic, look. And the thing was, I waited and held on to them because he didn't really care about modeling. I said, I'll put all my stuff aside if you want to do this, and I'll make your auditions a priority. Until the car situations worked out.
Right. He couldn't drive yet.
Yeah, he was driving, but it was like freeway driving from Manhattan
yeah.
Beach to LA. But then I was a little like, maybe he should wait till he's 17. In the industry, it's pretty intense. And so I finally like decided to send them in, and I knew that Ford would pick him up. Now he's with Dragonfly, which I think is actually better than Ford these days. They're really amazing. Dragonfly, I think it's Dragonfly Models. And they're just, I think him and his girlfriend, beyond being beautiful, they have a presence to them that's different than
Love it.
a lot of the young people today who are just so wrapped up in, an online existence that when you're modeling, I think it's even more important. I was not that great of a model, but that you're able to be completely open and not self-conscious as much. And I feel like
with you as a mom and what he was exposed to growing up, this modeling will just be one of the things in the cornerstone of what he ends up building. This kid is just getting started. And you know what? You're a terrific role model.
Well, how old is your daughter?
She's 29 now. She moved back home during the pandemic. She met a great guy during the pandemic.
No way.
Looking like the fall, she's moving out again. But yeah, when this happened, her 3 girl roommates flew the coop. They all went back home. And the guy that ran the apartment brought in 3 dudes and 1 bathroom. And she called me up and she said, I really don't like it here. Can you come and get me? I'm like, sure. I'm like, how are we going to move your stuff? She's like, Uber has van. We moved her in an Uber van. I didn't even know that Uber had vans. And you know what? You're like a mother hen. I just wanted to get her home. And it was March of
Where was she? Where did she live?
In Astoria. She had moved to Astoria, Queens. And
oh my God. With 3 guys she didn't even know? Did she know the guys?
No, he moved in 3 strange guys. The guy who ran the apartment did. And I just felt it was so bad. I'm like, don't even worry. And I ran out there to get her. And I remember packing up her stuff. She had bought a beautiful big bed for herself. I said, Kyle, I can't deal with the bed. I'll take everything else. She's like, can we put it in storage? I said, it'll cost as much money to put it in storage. I said, we put it online. Nobody answered. I said, you know what? Forget about the bed. We'll leave it for the dudes. I'm sure they drank beer and had their girlfriends over. Bed, but thank God, my only daughter was out of there by then. And yeah,
kids. I think about these poor kids and pandemic and all this, how much they've actually sacrificed so much more than we have, because as you know, every year in your teens and your 20s, it like sets you up for the rest of your You're building those mistakes. I used to say, like, someone told me advice that your 20s is about becoming, your 30s is about like actualization. And your 40s is about doing. Right. And I feel like we're stealing this whole like section in their life that is going to be delayed. A lot of young people under 30, I think it's something like 75% still live at home, which is
well, and they were living at home, then the pandemic happens. But you know what? I said this to someone. Our reality was different, right? You came out doing horror films. I did a ton of B films. I worked with Trauma Productions.
Nice.
But we came up in a different time, so this is their time and this is what they know. And your son is making it work. My daughter's making it work. She's got a great job. She got a raise, a promotion. I'm so proud of her. So we can't judge our kids by our criteria. We just have to look at them and say, they're working through it. Sadie, I don't know where the time went. I could be here a whole other hour.
I love you. We have to Zoom each other without the world watching.
Absolutely, without the whole world watching. Oh my God, what a great name for a show, Zooming Without the Whole World Watching. Great reality show, and you can have like all your friends on there who are doing stuff. Tell us what's up and coming or what you want to share with everybody before we say goodbye.
Well, just anyone to follow me on Instagram under Sadie Katz. I really hope that people will join the film. The Beast Inside is super important to me. And I feel like, and I'm really proud of it. Like, that's going to be a really fun journey to share with people that's one thing I do like about social media is, people can go on that ride with you and they're part of
Absolutely.
Whether or not your film does well or not, which is lovely. So I'm going to blame you guys if you don't watch. Just kidding. But thank you for having me.
Oh my God. So great having this discussion. I have one more thing. Where is that fabulous dog of yours? Can you get her to come over here? They never come on camera when you want them to.
Come here. Oh, you lazy. Come here.
That's a stubborn little
chihuahuas or scratch fingers. Come here.
No, they play games with you. I call it. She's being a priss because you want her to be on camera. They all do that.
This dog normally doesn't even. She's upset that I'm not.
Oh my God, she's so cute. Hold her face up to the camera. Look at that chihuahua. She is so adorable.
Say hi.
Hi.
This is Buffy.
Hello, Chihuahua. Chihuahua, yeah. Oh my God, she knows she's a Chihuahua. Look at her ears.
She's the best and the absolute worst.
So cute. We live for our dogs. Sadie, thank you so much. Everyone who tuned in today, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all next week. Tym Moss will be back, tanned, blonde, fabulous. Oh, he's so jealous. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Bye-bye.